let's talk about signed decimal multiplication. So signed just means we have positives and negatives happening. So separate from the numbers, we need to know that when we multiply, a positive times a positive equals a positive. A negative times a negative equals a positive. So same, right? A positive times a negative is going to be a negative, and a negative times a positive is going to be a negative. So if they are different, you'll get a negative, and if they are the same, you'll get a positive. This is only for multiplication, so don't let it mess up your addition, because adding is different. That's where we have bad guys and good guys. But in this case, same signs make a positive, different signs make a negative. So in this first example, 0.001 times negative 373.2, I'm just going to look at it and say, oh look, it is a positive times a negative, and so my answer is going to be negative. After that, I don't really need to think about the signs anymore. It's not like addition and subtraction where I'm going to have to decide what to do next. I'm just going to keep that sign. What to do next now is just thinking about multiplying the numbers. The first one is a fun example because when I have a number like this and I'm going to multiply by 0.001, any multiple of 10, okay? We can go 10, we can go 100, we can go 1,000, or bigger. This will go times, and we just move the decimal. And in that case, we're going to move the decimal to make the number bigger, and we're going to count the zeros. So that would be one place, that would be two places, that would be three places. In this case, we have a decimal. If I have 0.1 or 0.01 or 0.001 or 0.0001, what's going to happen is that I'm going to move the decimal also, but I'm going to move it to make the number smaller, and I'm going to count all of these. So this would be one space, this would be two spaces, this would be three spaces, this would be four spaces. So in the case of this problem right here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 bumps to make my number smaller, so it's going to go to the left. 1, 2, 3. And it's a little confusing to count this space if we have the numbers without a decimal, we only count the zeros, but that's because the decimal's not really the middle, but the ones place is actually the middle. And we can talk about that another time, but just know that we're going to go 1, 2, 3 spaces to the left. That's going to give me a negative, because I decided the answer is going to be negative 0.3732. And I believe that Alex prefers it if you put a 0 first. That's okay. In the next part, though, we need to do negative 0.04 times 8. And it's not a 10, so we're going to multiply the numbers. And then we'll have to adjust for the decimal. So in this case, I have a positive, or I don't know why I said that, a negative times a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. So my answer is going to be negative. I'm just keep track of that. I can do, in thinking about 0.04 times 8, I am going to just do the 4 times 8, which is 32. And now I'm going to go back to my original numbers and count up any decimal places that I need to take care of. 1, 2. I need to get 2 decimal places. So my answer is going to be 0.32. And I already decided, since it was negative times positive, that it's going to be a negative. And that's it. I'll do one more to make sure that I answered your question, hopefully. Show another. All right. In this case, in the first one, I have negative 5.5 times negative 7. That is a negative times a negative, so I'm going to have a positive answer. I don't even need to pay attention to the negatives now. I have 5.5 times 7, so I need to figure out what that multiplication is. 5 times 7 is 35. I'm carrying a 3, and then 35 again, 36, 37, 38. There's one decimal place to keep track of right here. And so I'm going to put this down, 38.5. That will be my answer. I don't need to put that positive sign in, but that was how I was keeping track of it. All right, the next one is super cool because it's times 10. To times 10, I am going to make my number go bigger by 1 decimal place to the right. To remember that, just remember that when you're multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000, your number's going to get bigger. If you're not multiplying by 0.1 or 0.01 or 0.001, your number's going to get smaller, so you're going to move it to the left. All right, so I'm going like this. It's going to be between the 8 and the 3 there, and I have a positive times a negative. So I'm going to get a negative answer, and it's going to be 58.37. And that'll be my final answer.